Hey, it's Ed. Welcome to this edition of Lessons from My Mentor. This one really goes out to a lot of different people in marketing PR in the organizations where I served because I started getting media requests. It's funny, right? Because I'm sure everyone has gone through this. When you first start getting them, they sit with you through all of them and they're holding your hand and probably meeting with you ahead of time. And then hopefully, you've learned over time how to do it and they trust that you know the talking points and can go from there. But I really dedicate this. I mean, I learned from them everything I'm about to share with you. And then it got reinforced, right? Because over the last many, many years, I've been a guest on many interviews, podcasts, webinars, all that kind of stuff. And so I've learned a few things the hard way. I mean, I've made all the possible mistakes. And then I've also host my own podcast, those sort of things. So I've interacted with a lot of different people and kind of seen what works and what doesn't work. And so I wanted to really share how to be a good guest when you do get invited. So this is how I would approach it. And it'll take you out of your comfort zone either way. So even if you're not wired the way that I'm about to speak, I would still recommend trying it and stretching kind of a new muscle, if you will, because I think it'll really help you in terms of being a good guest and therefore representing yourself well, your organization well, and getting invited back. So, a few things. The first is push back on your PR people. So, I love PR people, marketing people, and it seems like the higher level the executive, so the more formalized the organization. So now if I'm interviewing a CEO or some sort of executive of a multi-billion-dollar company, they're going to have PR people that this is what they do. And they want you to look your very best. And they want you to represent the company super well. So I get it. I totally respect it. But I can tell you, the more prepared you are, the worse off you come across. It defies logic, right? Because you would think, oh, they're going to prep you like with all your speaking points. They're going to get the questions in advance and tell you exactly what to say. And so you're so focused on that instead of being a real person. So you come across like a robot. And if there's any sort of change in the nuance of a question or a new question asked based on some answer, the person can be like a deer in the headlights. So I always have to be super careful not to ad lib at all because it'll trip the person up. And that's definitely not my intent. So I want everyone to have a good experience. And I always tell people whenever I run into this, because they're usually involved in the beginning, like I'll have, and I get total respect. Okay. So don't, just because I share this, don't think I'm making fun of this process. I'm just sharing this for everyone's education. I'll have meetings, multiple meetings with PR people before I ever have the interview. And so there's a lot of preparation that takes place because I can only imagine what that PR person is doing after they meet with me and then after they get the scripts. And, it again depends on the organization, but most people take the script as it is, the script being sort of like the order of things and the questions that are going to be asked, overall format. But sometimes I'll spend a couple of hours in total working with a PR person and adjusting questions and stuff. And I'm telling you, it's not worth the squeeze of all that effort because people just come across unnatural. And that's the last thing you want to do. So it's great to have those people. They're super, super helpful. They give you a lot of great pieces of advice and things you definitely want to embrace, but don't become a robot. So push back a little bit. It's the same if you don't have PR people, but you tend to be one of those individuals that's like to be super, super prepared, just chill. And this is hard for me because I'm that type of person. It's like you send me questions in advance. I used to do this. I'll meticulously write out answers and all that kind of stuff. And then that's what I think about. So when you're asking me the questions, I'm probably looking at a sheet, looking at a separate screen. I can always tell that too when that's going on, because not only will people come across disingenuine, but you can also see where their eyes are moving and it's not concentrating on the moment, but it's concentrating on, oh, what was that bullet point? I don't want to miss that bullet point. So avoid being overly prepared. And that should make it easier for you and more enjoyable, because, and because you don't have to spend that much time preparing. Everyone's so busy. And the other thing is too, it's kind of more fun if you don't really know everything. You kind of have a pretty good idea, but you kind of roll with the punches. And most of this stuff is pre-recorded. And so you know that if you flub something or you're not sure and you're like saying a lot of ahs, and pause words, they'll edit it. So, have that comfort that it doesn't have to be perfect. All right. So that's the first thing. It's like, don't overly prepare, number one. And if you have a bunch of PR people, love them to death, embrace all the goodness, but also at the same time, don't become a robot. Now, for everyone else, including those people that have great PR people and like to over prepare, the best interviews are when the individual comes across as relatable. So if you come across as someone that I can't relate to, I'm probably going to turn off the podcast, or my eyes gonna glaze over. I'll be, multitasking. I'll be like, I'll still be like, wow, I'll have all this respect. Like that person's like amazing what they've done. But then I'll be left a little flat, like, yeah, but I could never like have a beer with them or a cup of coffee with them. So do everything you can just to be natural and just be real. Just pretend that you're at home with your family or something, or with your best buddies, and just let it all relax and just be a real person. And to that end, and I've spoken about this before when it comes to like to doing speeches and stuff, the more real you can be, the better. So be authentic. Like if you get questions like, tell me your biggest mistake, don't do the interview thing where, we all pretty well coached on how to answer a question like that in an interview. And, people are like, well, I probably shouldn't have asked that question. That's the type of answer I'm going to get. No one's going to get real. Like, oh, one time, I failed and we lost $1 million, and, the quality of our care has just suffered tremendously. No one's going to do that in a job interview. But I would recommend that you be as honest as possible when you answer that sort of question. If someone were to ask that question, using that as an example, and just talk about a real failure. Like, man, yeah, this happened. I was at a ACHE event recently, and the question to the panel was, the first question was, tell me about a time when morale of your team wasn't so good. And I was like, oh, I could give you a lot of examples. And here's the latest one. And I just talked about how even being a senior leader for so many years and having great teams, I still flubbed up, So people want to know that. And then I felt like I had their attention the rest of the time. Like they knew that whatever answer they're going to get me wasn't a bunch of BS and wasn't a bunch of theory. They're going to get like real gut level response. So just be as transparent and real as possible, and you'll have a better connection. And I think the time goes by faster. People will listen. There'll be this likability factor. So if you're recruiting in the future, someone might want to work with you. If let's just say you're a company CEO and you're out there, and someone might say, oh, I'm kind of interested in that company now because that CEO, like that's someone I could relate to and I believe them. So there's a lot of benefits to being that way. But I think the most important one, people listen to things like this because they ultimately want to become like you. They might want to become a CIO, a CEO, a CDO, whatever it is. And if you're overly prescriptive and theoretical and not genuine, they're going to be like, I could never be that. And they're going to give up. But if you're like, hey, I'm like you, and I screw up and I still screw up, and I can't believe I'm still CEO, whatever it is that they say that enables you to make a connection, like that's a real person. So those are my tips. There's not anything magic, but I'm telling you, most people don't do it. They overly prepare and they stick to a persona, a mask, because they're afraid of what you might see. But I think we should all take off the masks, and I don't think there's anything to be feared. Thanks for watching.